Hey everybody, this is Will Koning, the CEO and co-founder of Meritt, and you are on the Your Future on Meritt podcast, the only podcast that talks to you about your sales careers. So, with me today is a founding SDR extraordinaire, Lauren Woodcock. I've known Lauren for a good few years now. Lauren has been the founding SDR over at Daymi, Abacum, and now Glyphic. She's done it 3 times. There is nothing she doesn't know about being an SDR and getting an SDR team set up. So Lauren, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you very much, Lauren. So, Lauren, this is obviously a podcast to talk about how you got into sales and why you love it. So, I love to ask this one question: how come you didn't get a normal job like being a banker or an accountant or anything else like that? What prompted you to join our wonderful industry?
Well, that's an interesting one because it isn't the most normal job because it takes a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of resilience, and I think that that's one of the things that excites me about it because you have to just keep on going, and obviously there's also chances to earn good money and also advance your career and be able to kind of shape the future that you want to have, and I think sales is a great platform to do so.
Amazing. Yeah. What are some of the companies? You've obviously done this 3 times with 3 different technology companies. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the types of companies you've been working for.
Yeah, sure. So I started with SaaSLeads, what you set up with Bootcamp. So I got to learn all of the fundamentals as to how to be an SDR. And then I kind of fell into the first founding role because Daymi didn't necessarily have that function set up. So the first role was really starting to build out all of those processes and the scripts and learn about the different financial personas because it was selling fintech. And then after that, I moved on to working at Abacum in similar situation, kind of fell into their V2 of SDRs there and the first one hired, and again, selling into different kinds of financial personas. So selling more into FP&A, whereas Daymi was more fund management. And yeah, then again, set up all of the different processes and then moved on to DataHawk, which you missed, but DataHawk is basically selling
Oh yeah.
e-commerce data and selling e-commerce data to different personas there again. But again, very much data and, setting up all of the different processes, booking meetings, making sure that their outbound function was functioning and actually created. And that was really successful and a great learning journey, all of those 3. And now I am very happy to have joined Glyphic, which is basically an AI powered sales engagement platform providing data driven insights so that your reps can, close a lot of deals. And that's really exciting because it's been founded by ex Google DeepMind research engineers.
Oh, that is really cool. So you've actually done this journey 4 times now. That's crazy. Why do you keep doing it again?
Because I like stress. No, I keep doing it because I love it. I think it's really cool. I love being able to mold different processes and understand different kind of buyer journeys, but also understand what kind of different personas really need, and being able to really mold that function is really cool and exciting to me. And you get to talk all the time. And to be honest, I really love talking and speaking to people and helping them with some great tech. And fortunately, I've worked at companies which really provide really, really solid tech. So it's exciting.
Yeah, no, I imagine. Maybe you could just explain to the audience what a founding SDR is. So you've obviously got the SDR or the BDR. What's the difference?
So I would say the most fundamental difference is that you're the first one through the door. So really, you've got to mold it, like look at it like a piece of clay. You have to mold it into what you want to create to make like pottery, for example, right? And when you're coming in as an SDR in a function which has already been established and scripts already written and pain points and different value props has already been figured out, then it's more like your tools are already sorted out for you. But as a founding SDR, it's your job to really mold those tools and create a great process and function which is solid for a scaling team. So you create a scalable function which can continue to succeed even once you've stepped out of that company.
So you make it sound easy. I imagine this isn't that easy. You must have seen some challenges.
I think there's always challenges anywhere you go. But yeah, and of course there are challenges, and you have to be really resourceful, and you have to know what you're doing. You have to upskill yourself as well all of the time, because obviously all of the processes in the industry changes. So you need to be able to evolve with it. But it's definitely not easy, but that's what makes it exciting, I think. And that's what makes me keep going back into the same kind of roles, because it is a challenge and you have to challenge yourself as well. And I love that.
Yeah, amazing. So, coming on to some of the skills that you need to have as a founding SDR, what would you say they are?
You need to be resourceful. You need to have grit. You don't want to overcomplicate what you're doing. Start with a foundation and build from it, but keep on going and also use data to then enhance what you're doing. So if you're not making any decisions which aren't backed by data, so for example, if you're creating a different campaign or you're using different kind of scripts with different kind of messaging, go on data. So if you see that something's working, continue to do so and tweak it in the right direction. But equally as well, if you see that something's not working and it's not resonating, then be able to quickly identify that and fail fast. So that way that you can continue to move on quicker. But I think one of the worst things that you can do is continuing to try to, convey the same kind of messaging, which just isn't resonating, because then you're wasting time. So fail fast and learn quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's such an important trait in startups and especially in sales, the ability to fail fast and learn quickly. And I imagine as a founding SDR, that's even more true because it's only you, right? You're not usually working with other SDRs.
No, no, it's you. You're the one that sets up the process. So you have to be able to work alone. But also equally, there is a team. You're not the one that's founded the company, right? So it's not just you. And I think that if you silo yourself to only you, then that can become really lonely. And one thing that I always make sure to do is really build great relationships with the people that I'm working with, because you don't want to be siloed and you want to continuously speak to the people that you're working with, also ask for feedback, and then also use that feedback, but work together as a team. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's picking up the phone, and you're the one that's, trying to book in those qualified meetings and trying to really generate some great qualified pipe for the company that you're working at. And you do that alone, but just because you're setting up the function on your own doesn't mean that you necessarily are. And I think that's key to building a successful outbound function.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, one of the things that I imagine must be really interesting is getting to work with some of these founders. You mentioned right now you're working with some Google DeepMind founders. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really, really cool, because they've created cutting edge AI because of their background. And they've now been able to create this tool, which is really, really, really cool. And it's really exciting. So being able to work with AI and work with sales professionals and, cold call salespeople is different than cold calling financial people, because, well, they love to talk as well. So you get a lot of insights from there as well. But specifically with those founders, it is really cool. And we've got a great VP of sales. So no, it's a really exciting and cool company to join. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, no, it sounds absolutely awesome. So, being a founding SDR, you talked about some of the skills like being data driven, being resourceful. What about some of the more sort of standard ones? Like, what does a day to day look like for a founding SDR? What are you doing in a day?
Oh, I'm calling a lot of people. So that's my
Yeah,
go-to, because at the minute what I'm seeing is that email is really, really saturated. And because of Google's new policies, which they put into play, you can't also necessarily really track your open and click rates. So you can't really base any data of the messages that you're sending, because otherwise it might look like spam. But to not get too technical, yeah, I'm just calling and following up on LinkedIn, building my LinkedIn strategy, and just making sure that I hit those phones and get good conversations.
yeah. So, why is the phone most important to you?
Because you get through to someone quickly and you can get direct feedback, right? You can immediately see what a response is, and you can immediately see how to, pick up on that. And you can also test out your messaging quicker, and you catch someone on the phone, that just cuts through the noise a little bit more. And if you're able to reiterate your pitch the way that actually works and resonates, and you do your research on someone, they actually genuinely appreciate that, I find, because a lot of the time, right, there's a difference between cold calling well, I think, and cold calling with just a script and just, oh, I've got this list to call and let's just get through it as quick as possible. If you
Yeah,
cold
unpack
call,
that. What's the difference? So a lot of people when they think cold calling, think, oh, I've got to pick up the phone and call. Like it sounds like it's a little bit different. Unpack that for us. What does that look like?
So cold calling with a script, obviously, having a script is good because you have a baseline. But if you take a script and you make it your own and you put your own spin on it and you really focus on your tonality as well, so mirroring how someone's speaking, if someone's speaking a little bit slow, you slow it down. If someone's speaking more boisterous, you pick it up a bit more. And that establishes credibility right off the bat, because like if you're in a deep conversation with someone and someone touches their hair and the other person also touches their hair, that means that they're listening to you, and it works the same way. So I think that's one fundamental thing of which is different between just cold calling and cold calling well, but also doing your research, really taking the time to understand if your product can actually help this company. So I'm not going to call a company that I don't think that we can actually be a benefit to, because for one, it's a waste of their time, but equally also mine. So really making sure that you're reaching out and tailoring your script to the persona that you're speaking to and the company, so that you know that it's going to resonate and that you can also portray the value in a good way.
So give us an example. You do your research. Why is that? How does that make the cold call different?
Because it shows that, for one, that you're talking about, because you want to look like you're credible as well. And it also shows that you're not going to waste their time. And it shows that you're a company which is bothering to actually stand out from the crowd and make sure that you're going to be able to help. So, for example, the other day, it didn't turn into a meeting, but it was a great conversation. I was on the phone for like 20 minutes with this VP of sales of this cool company as well. And he was really open to me, and I reached out to him off the back of LinkedIn because I saw that he'd done a post about how people don't really stick out from the crowd. And so I was like, wow, okay, let
Mm.
me call you and I'll try and stick out from the crowd. And that turned into a really good conversation. So choosing those kind of snippets of where you're like, oh, this is now a really great moment to call this person, that's going to help you too.
You're reaching out to a prospect based on something they've done on LinkedIn or something you researched. So instead of them answering the phone and saying, "Hey, do you want to buy Glyphic?" in this case, it's, "Hey, I've done some homework on you." Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, just how does that impact your numbers?
Well, I mean, I'm booking meetings already. I'm only in my third week now, and I've got quite good pipe and booked some meetings. Some have already been held, so it's good, And then
Wait,
also
wait,
when you
wait.
have a
You've only been in this company 3 weeks, and how many meetings have you booked
Well, I've booked 4 meetings, and then I've got about 10 good opportunities lined up where I just need the date solidified.
in 3 weeks?
Well, less than, but yeah, I mean, I still need to get on the phones after this and call US.
Fair enough. So I think that just shows to the audience listening, if you can research these leads and you have a great tonality and a great calling out there, you can really, really book amazing meetings really, really fast. Is that fair to say, Lauren?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Did you know the average salary for an SDR is between 28 and 32,000 pounds? That's one of the highest entry level jobs out there. The trick is standing out from the crowd to get that role. And with Meritt, we make that possible for you. So all you need to do is upload your CV and our AI will build your profile and match you with top companies in seconds. Then ace our video interviews to show off what makes you unique. Don't just apply, get noticed and get hired. So visit Meritt.io today and take your first step towards a high-paying SDR role. Remember, your future is on Meritt. A little birdie actually told me that in your previous role, every time you connected on a call, you would book 30% of them would turn into meetings booked. Is that right?
No, it was a little bit higher. It was like 46.3%.
That's very, very accurate. So it sounds like you do know your numbers. That is incredible. So what? Nearly 1 in 2 meetings that you booked, you converted into a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't in my first 3 weeks, right? Because you have to establish a baseline as well. And that takes a little bit of time because you're figuring out your personas, you're figuring out your script, you're figuring out the kind of messaging and value that you want to deliver and portray. And then I think once you get that to, well, not a T, it's always a learning process, right? You always reiterate. But once you get that done, you can book a lot of meetings. And the way that I did that was cold calling.
And what would you say to those that say that cold calling is dead?
I would say you're probably not actively reaching out to people, and that you're probably more in a managerial role and expecting a lot from reps, but not really necessarily giving them the key to do so. I think
Yeah.
that's not the way to go. No, definitely cold call. And I think that people who are just relying on emails should stop doing that and should pick up the phones.
And what about
If
these?
you,
Sorry, go on.
well, just only if you want to make commission.
Yeah, well, I hope every salesperson does want to make commissions. So it seems like the phone's alive and well. What other channels are working for you?
So LinkedIn is doing well. So I send voice notes and I create different kind of memes and gifs. They don't always work, but I think that's trying it out, right? Like, it's
Mm,
not that everything that you fail, you learn and you move on. But LinkedIn, I've been trying different kind of outreach. So with voice notes and sending memes and gifs, I've also done some kind of AI pictures where they're enjoying the tool, and then I've created them enjoying the tools, which sometimes lands, sometimes doesn't. I think it's your sense of humor, right? I find it amusing. So that's working. But cold calling is really the way to go. I mean, I've had some email responses, but that's then just off a follow up. But I am not necessarily really focusing on emails because we can't really track them and they're not working. It's so saturated at the minute. So I just want to cut through the noise.
What do you mean by it's so saturated?
There are a lot of companies at the minute which are just blasting out campaigns and using different kind of domains for their domain to protect their domain. But in that, there's spam blasting. I'd call it a lot of different prospects sending out the same kind of generic messages. And that's just filling up these people's inboxes. And they've already got a really filled inbox. And so just sending another sales email on top of that, even if it is well researched and you do your best to, under 100 words, super personalized and well thought out, it doesn't have as much of a chance of sticking out. And now with Gmail's rules which have been put into place, if you do track your open and click rates, and there's like this big yellow banner on the top which says it's likely spam. Now,
Yeah,
I'm no genius, but that's not,
it's not
I
helping
wouldn't,
you, right?
no.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess these AI SDRs are just making the problem worse, right? And inboxes are all clogged up.
Yeah, I was gonna move on to that as well.
Yeah,
And I think AI is great, and I love what Glyphic is doing with the AI, because so I was in the conversation with a great friend of mine who's a sales leader the other day, and he's like, so it's really cool. It's like Iron Man. You're not taking away the person, but you're giving it that tech to really become this superhero. And
mm,
that is what it's doing, right? It's about enhancing your reps to be more efficient, to close more deals, to do all of that. It's not about replacing them, because
yeah,
people do buy from people, and I think that's key. And I think that's something which I might have missed out on the cold calling, is people buy from people. And if you can really show that you're a person, that you care, that you've done your research, that you're matching their tone, that's wildly different than being called up by AI or being spam blasted by those emails.
totally right. And look, you've got the data and the numbers to prove it, right? 4 meetings in under 3 weeks from getting started at Glyphic. It says a lot about the excitement of Glyphic, but it certainly doesn't want to take it away from how amazing you're doing. And I imagine you're only going to be more and more successful with Glyphic. That is amazing. So let's go back to Lauren. Imagine Lauren when she first started out in her sales career. What is that advice that you would give to you? What are those pointers that you would say, hey, Lauren, this is what you need to do? What's that advice you're going to give yourself?
I would say step one, learn. Really, really learn. Speak to your peers, speak to your colleagues, and learn about the role which you're going into, but also other kind of roles in the industry which you're selling into, and continuously upskill yourself. Then I would say really, really be receptive to feedback and listen to it, because when you're asking for help and people give you help, then they're only trying to, help you out. So by listening to that and then taking on that feedback and that advice, that's going to be something which is going to mold you into a much greater person. And then lastly, when you make mistakes, because I make mistakes all the time, right? Everyone does. People are only human except for the AI bots. But when you make mistake, accept that you've made the mistake. Don't beat yourself up about it, but just stand up again, learn from it, and move on, and try not to make that same mistake again.
Yeah, totally. Do you know what? I always say the best SDRs, they have 4 key traits for me, and that is you're an expert communicator. I think you've just demonstrated that in the last 20 minutes or so. But you have that curiosity. So you want to learn about your customers, you want to learn about the industry that we're in. You have that coachability, that ability to take on that feedback, get feedback, and improve from it. And then there's that grit thing. And I think being kind to yourself in times of failure, accepting that failure, moving on, is that grittiness to help you achieve your long-term goals. So I think you
Yeah.
really do exemplify what it means to be an exceptional SDR. And yeah, of course, we all love the cold calls over at Meritt. So yeah, where's the future for Lauren? Where's she going?
Well, I'm really excited about Glyphic and the future there. So I want to see what happens there. But in the end, I think I have actually set up my own consultancy company. So
Yeah,
the future's wide open. But right now, I just want to focus on getting all of the foundations set up for Glyphic and making sure that is successful too in my function there.
amazing, amazing. That's so exciting. I'm sure in a few years' time, we're going to look and we're going to see you. I don't know how many more SDR teams you're going to found.
I don't know. I don't have a glass ball in front of me as it currently stands, but do you know what?
Yeah.
At the minute, I'm just focusing on the role which I've just joined, and I'm really excited about that.
Do you ever see yourself going into like the full sales role, for example?
Possibly, definitely. I mean, the future's wide open, right? It's just where it takes you,
Hmm.
or where you
Yeah.
take yourself.
I mean, when you think about all those opportunities that you created for yourself in the last 3 years or so, would you ever seen yourself doing this 3 years ago?
No, I was a diving instructor back then. It's changed quite a bit.
It has changed quite a bit. And I think that just shows to anyone that's listening what opportunity sales can bring you, right? Here you are now working for a cutting edge AI company. That would have never have happened if you hadn't have joined the amazing world of tech sales and being an SDR.
Very
Awesome.
true.
Awesome stuff. We're going to move on to quote corner now. So this is where we get to ask you a quote. What is that quote that you tell yourself all the time that you live and swear by, and then tell us why?
Well, I think it's going to sound a bit cheesy, but the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's a quote by Peter Drucker. And I think that really fits into what we've also been speaking about like how 3 years ago I was a dive instructor and now suddenly I'm, working at Glyphic with a cutting AI technology company. Yeah, you create it yourself, right? And I think that that's something to live by.
100% right. It's all about, when people talk about luck, right? It's like you say you make your own luck, right? There's no, and I think that rings so true. And you totally exemplify that with everything that you've achieved so far. So that's really, really amazing. Lauren, this is now your opportunity to sell yourself. You are, of course, a salesperson. This is your opportunity to tell us about yourself or what you want to sell. Sell to us, Lauren. Go for it.
Put me on the spot.
Yep.
Well, if you are in RevOps or if you are a sales leader who needs to increase closed deals rates, if you need to have more visibility into your CRM, if you want to learn how to really utilize the best kind of AI out there, then please do reach out to me because Glyphic is definitely a game changer for your team. It helps with auto populating your CRM. So you've got actual healthy data in your CRM rather than having to chase any of your reps to fill it out. You've got a good oversight and you've also got cutting AI to help you out. So do reach out. It is a great, great product. And again, it's been founded by Google DeepMind research engineers. So they are the creme de la creme.
And I can actually attest to that. I've been using Glyphic for a good few weeks now myself. One of my favorite things is the ability that when you make a cold call, it's all recorded. You can then use that to send a follow-up email in seconds, and the copy is fantastic. Not only that, we can send some of our data back to our teams around the product stuff that we're doing for Meritt, and the customers are giving us feedback. And that is like one of two of hundreds of use cases that this AI technology can do for us. So Glyphic is clearly going to go a very, very long way. So that's really, really cool. Yeah, amazing. So the other thing I'd say is if you want to sound like an amazing SDR like Lauren, I really recommend you go and check out Meritt. We've got loads of free courses on there. We not only that, we've got really amazing opportunities like working at Glyphic. Well, hopefully they start to hire again. And yeah, do join our jobs board to find more opportunities like that. With that, everyone, thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us on the Meritt podcast. We will see you very, very soon for our next episode. Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for coming on, Lauren, I should say. It's been really good fun.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. And remember, your future, it's on Meritt. Bye. Did you know the average salary for an SDR is between £28,000 and £32,000? That's one of the highest entry-level jobs out there. The trick is standing out from the crowd to get that role. And with Meritt, we make that possible for you. So all you need to do is upload your CV and our AI will build your profile and match you with top companies in seconds. Then ace our video interviews to show off what makes you unique. Don't just apply, get noticed and get hired. So visit Meritt.io today and take your first step towards a high-paying SDR role. Remember, your future is on Meritt.